Hey, what's up, dudes? I'm gonna give you guys here a my setup of the new Aeroscout. Well, it's not new. I've had this plane for about 4 months. This has been my line of sight flyer at the new club I'm in. Some of you guys know my storyline. I've recently moved to a new location, and I currently have not made any connections yet with people that has a lot of open farmland, which I'm working on that. But as of right now, I've just been flying at the club, and this is my club flyer. This has been a LOS platform for the last 4 months solid, and you guys know how most clubs are. I know some clubs are up to date, but some of the clubs, like the one I'm in, you mention FPV, and to some of the older guys, and they toot their nose up at you. They're just like, yeah, FPV is a nuisance. That's a pest. Then you bring stuff out there, and they're like, you gotta have your spotter, da 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 da. Rules and regulations, and I get it, But with some of these guys, though, they're literally like terrified of FPV. So, what I came up with is Operation Blend. So, Operation Blend was basically turning this plane into a FPV platform. Could be, mid-range, long-range platform, but everything is undercover, and it's been a really fun project. I hope if you guys haven't been keeping up with me on Facebook, that's where all the build pics and all the little fun stuff, the sneak peeks, early looks and stuff, and the whole process. I put it out there on my Facebook page. But anyway, it's been really fun doing this one. Just trying to get everything to where you can't see anything, and as you can see, you do not see anything sticking out that would scream FPV to you on this frame anywhere, nowhere at all. Nothing looks like it would be, FPV wise go. Nothing sticks out. So that was the whole plan. Was how was I was going to get all of my gear on this platform to where it wouldn't stick a red flag up to some of the guys that are not like FPV friendly. And this is what I come up with. But let me just go over some of the basic stuff. Um, this was a plug and play Aeroscout. It's Sky Eagle, same thing. Plug and play kit. The only thing I changed out on it here on the outside was the prop. The prop now is a 5045 Dow tri-bladed prop, bull nose. Still the same stock motor. I did a custom little mount here for my crossfire antenna. And that was another thing too, during the whole build process of this, the idea was making sure everything will be able to fit back into the box. And it does. It fits right back into that box with no issues at all. But that's really is it here. Other than, of course, what's noticeable in the front, you got the air scoop. And down here on the bottom, there's another air scoop. And that's all that you can see. But anyway, let's take the wings off. I don't have them attached. And we show you guys the setup here. All right. Okay. So here up front, this is actually a BN 880 GPS with the compass built into it. Typically, running iNav, I do not use a compass, but I have thought about in the past trying it with iNav. So I do have this wired up to the flight controller, and we'll see. But currently, right now, it's off until we get the remating out of the way, or the mating, whatever you want to call it, and get everything tuned. But once everything's tuned, I will potentially activate the compass. Um, Over here on the side, that is a Maytech buzzer, loud buzzer. I love them to death. They're really cheap as crap. If you wreck or crash with them, they'll just go bad. Even though they don't take any damage itself, it'll stop working. But I love them. They are extremely loud. And every one of my planes has got one of those in it. All right, back here in the back, This is the Maytech F411WTE flight controller. We are using iNav 5.1 currently, and we got everything all wired up nice and neatly there, as you guys can see. And here over here, that is a Nano Crossfire receiver. This is not the Pro. This is just a standard Nano receiver. And back here in the back, this is a Panasonic 1000 UF capacitor. You know, I swear by them to clear up the system and keep your video looking good. And here in the back here, right in front of the motor, you guys can barely see it. I love this little slit right here. It's perfect for this ESC. But this is a Holy Bro 65 amp ESC. I actually got my bud to send this to me. He has some extra ones laying around. Totally overkill, but it's a ESC nevertheless that I've run 4S on this motor. And again, my antenna, you can see, it's going up. I made a little 3D print, little antenna holder for that guy. And that is it as far as on this side of it. The other changes I made to it, I was really heavily thinking about moving the servos around. Oops, it's gonna tail up. But I went against it because one, my hands are very, very big. If I was to cut this out, my hands ain't never gonna fit off in there to be able to do any kind of work. And I didn't want to cut a hole off in the side of it, because I wanted to leave everything, you know, as stock looking as possible. I wanted this to look like there was nothing in it, like it was stock, pretty much. So my idea was I came up with a little floating tray here. Turn the light back on. As you can see, get the focus. There we go. Yeah, it's sitting right over top of the tray, and my 4S 1P 21700 cells, 5000 milliamp will slide right off in there perfectly. And yes, it does use a Velcro strip to keep it in tight. No issues at all. And there's so much space in there right now. I probably could run a 4S 2P on it. But again, this setup wasn't built for that. This was all meant to be, you know, this is my club flyer. This is flying in circles around the field. Potentially chasing some of these jets and stuff these other guys are flying here down the road secretly. I'm joking. But that was my fix for it, you know, just leave the servos where they was, make a tray to go over top of it. That way, you know, I have access to all that space and the tray is not rubbing the servo heads. I can't get the camera down far enough to where you can see it, but it goes in there perfect. CG is great. But that's pretty much it as far as this side of the house go. What I will reveal to you guys, you may be wondering, okay, where's the video transmitter at? We don't see it nowhere. Well, the video transmitter, let me flip this dude here, is right here on the bottom. Bam. We got the side feed antenna, and the video transmitter is under this casing right here, and it's a Mach 3 by Race Day Quads. And it just kind of is sitting off in there freely. I have pictures of it on my Facebook page. If you guys are really curious to see, y'all can go there to see it. Yeah, it's sitting off in there. And I did go ahead and add a strip of LEDs. And I have this is flush mounted with a piece of tape over top of it. Again, I didn't want nothing really to stick out on this particular setup. But that is that. And the biggest part of this setup is what's going on here up front. I wrote a little clip here for you guys to see how the front of this actually works out. But it connects together. Two of the wires is signal and power for the servo. Two is video and power for the camera. and then they're sharing the common ground. Is how this is set up, and it's wired right off into this guy. And this is the trick to it. As you've seen off in the clip, the motion on this, it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to make this design for this to where it'll work. I wanted to where the camera could not be seen. And as you can see, the camera is really, I mean, unless you pretty much, let me put it back on here. Unless you're pretty much like laying down in front of this plane, you're not going to be able to see that camera, was my thought process of it. See that? You can't see it unless you get way down there. And then now you still can't see it in this lighting. But that was the whole thing. And I thought it'd be just pretty cool. You know, I played around with servo actuators and several different things to come up with this design to make this work. And this is what I came up with. It works the best. I know some guys, I had a couple guys, they worry about the wind hitting it and potentially ripping the whole entire canopy off. I guess that's possible, but with the way this is reinforced with that lip right there, I mean, in the front of this nose is pretty solid. So it don't have to completely like deform, you know, the nose or this part for it to be able to flip off, you know? So I don't think that's going to happen. If anything would happen, I would have to say, whoops, let me get it back in there. If anything rips off of it, it'll be this itself, the Aeroscout, but it's not gonna get ripped off. I think it'll just flip backwards and just ride like that. And if you can see in there slightly, let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. There's a little bitty linkage right there behind that camera. It's kind of sticking up and down. You kind of can see it kind of decaying. Let me turn the light on. There we go. Yeah. That's the linkage that's going down to the servo that's up underneath this dude. So if that pops loose, that really to me is the only weak point. It is just going to knock that backwards, and it's going to break that linkage, and then that's going to flip backwards, and that's really going to be it. The camera itself is not going anywhere, so I think it's going to be all right. I think it's going to be okay. But again, we'll see. We'll play around with it for sure. It was too wide of a view. But the mechanism and everything for it, I'll show you what it looks like here. And ta-da, a mess. Yeah, this is a Runcam Split 2. I had this off in my Tyro, and for some reason I was flying my Tyro on 6S, and I guess because I haven't flown in a long time, I guess the board or something must have dried right. I don't know. I mean, it's been almost a year since I flew the thing, and I just had fluid. I mean, I just had put the Barrett fresh pack off in it, and I was going, you know, wide open with it basically, and it caught on fire in the air, dude. It literally, the ESC caught on fire, and it smoldered everything, which it didn't damage this dude at all. It just, the smoke from the fire from the ESC got everywhere, man. But yeah, I was able to retrieve the quad, didn't burn the field down. There was no issues with none of the components on the flight controller. I mean, on that quad, except the flight controller got burnt up because it was the closest to the ESC and the ESC itself, but everything else is good. That's actually where the video transmitter came from that's on this plane, too, as well. I borrowed those two parts. The camera and the video transmitter came from my Tyro. But anyway, as you can see here, I probably would have to just like show you some CAD work or something so you guys can see what's all going on with this. But it's a one-piece, well, it's a two-piece design. You have all this stuff here on the bottom in black is one piece, and then the hood scoop is a separate piece by itself. And that's really it. And this other piece here is just something I designed out to cover up the ugly hole that I had to trim out to be able to get this to open, you know, the way it was meant to be and stuff. But anyway, so that is pretty much it for this setup. Um, I went ahead and did this video today because I plan on going to fly it tomorrow, and you know, stuff happens sometimes, and I'm hoping for the best that I don't kill it. You know what I mean? But yeah, something I wanted to add though too for this video, because I know a lot of people are like, man, you're doing this just, you know, it's just for fun. It really is. This is just for fun. I'm not worried about, nobody to feel for real. If anything, this was supposed to be a eye opener, something fun for the other guys that don't know anything about LPV. You know what I mean? This will be the icebreaker for those guys. Like, hey, look, check this out. Let me flip the switch, and the James Bond music start playing and stuff, and show them the setup and stuff softly, and with a plane that they have seen me fly many, many times, so it won't be as intimidating, I would hope not, to these guys, and again, it'd be a good icebreaker for LPV for these dudes, and this would be a good demonstration planes of capabilities of today's technology to these guys that know nothing but gas burners and that type of thing. These dudes, when you mention FPV to them, literally, they holler, huh? They see the T1 Ranger and they freak out. They like, you got dual cameras on there for what? It can fly for an hour? Why would you want, that is their mentality. So, again, this one here would be a good icebreaker and a good fun thing to do, Anyway, I'm rambling. Peace and love, y'all. I'm out.